Hi everybody, my name is Grimace, you're watching Hike California. In this video, I'm going to talk about why I switched from hiking boots to trail runners, which one is right for you, and would I ever switch back. But first, if you're into hiking, backpacking gear, good news, this channel is about all of those things. So would you mind clicking subscribe below and that notification bell, that way you get notified anytime I put up a new video. Tell me if you can relate to this story. A few years ago, I bought this brand new pair of boots. And I was super excited to take them on a trip. I had a big trip planned, but of course first I had to break them in, right? So I had to go on training hikes with them. I went on an 8-mile hike. I think I went on a 12-mile hike. Basically, I had to put a lot of time and effort into making sure my boots wouldn't injure me. While I was doing these hikes and even into my regular hike, I would hit water crossings and I would have to take these boots off and I would have to put on these Crocs, but whatever water shoes, maybe barefoot, whatever, cross the stream, get to the end, take these off, put my socks on, put my boots on. It was just such an ordeal. Someone gave me a suggestion to try out trail runners. I hemmed and I hawed for a few years. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to switch maybe to some lower hiking shoes, some approach shoes, something in between the two. But I hit a sale, and so I actually just went all in and bought a pair of trail runners. And friends, I've been hiking in them ever since. Now let me preface this video by saying this is a long-running debate in backpacking circles. The hiking boot versus the trail runner versus the approach shoe and the hiking shoe. And I have to say, first of all, it comes down to personal preference. We have thousands of people who have finished long distance trails and trail runners, thousands of people who have finished them in boots, thousands of people who have finished them in approach shoes. Clearly you can do almost every trail in either one of these. So it really boils down to personal preference. It boils down to your objectives, it boils down to your environment, and it boils down to your physical abilities. And it also boils down to what you want, what you like, what makes you comfortable. So even though I have my own personal preferences, there's no reason you should have to have the same. So with that being said, let me tell you why I prefer trail runners to hiking boots. Number one, they're just lighter. You'll hear a lot of people say that 1 pound on the foot is worth 5 pounds on your back. That dates back to Sir Edmund Hillary, who scaled Mount Everest. But they've done the science since then, and it actually checks out. So your body expends about 5 times the effort to move a pound on your foot as it does to move a pound on your back. So they are lighter weight, which saves you energy in the long run, which is great for hiking farther distances. The second reason is moisture management. Especially here in the West, in California, we don't have the moisture that a lot of other areas have. So to get a waterproof boot just doesn't really make a lot of sense. Beyond that, if moisture can't get in, it usually can't get out either. And so if your foot is sweating, you're getting a lot of moisture inside of the boot that can't get released. So the thinking goes that if you just get a shoe like a hiking shoe or a trail runner, it's built to release moisture through the day. So especially as the sun's getting on it, but even if it's raining, even if you're crossing water, like your feet should theoretically drain through the day. The third reason is blisters. So a regular hiking boot doesn't have a lot of flex. That's what it's built for. It's built for stability. So if you get friction, it's going to be moving against your body all day long. As your ankles move, as your feet move, you're going to be getting the same hot spots over and over and over again because it doesn't have as much flex. Additionally, when you've got the added moisture, that helps create blisters too. So a trail runner, which is literally built to breathe and to flex and to move, is going to give you fewer blisters in the long run. One of the things you hear about boots is that it gives you added ankle support. But I think people often misunderstand what it is that they are getting out of a boot. So with a trail runner, you're actually paying closer attention to where you place your feet. You tend to have better what's called proprioception, which is a knowledge of where your foot is, its placement, and where you're putting it and how it's landing. So that is going to give you added support over sort of the idea of just blindly walking down a trail because your boot is protecting your foot. Also, going back to the added weight, as your foot and leg get more and more tired, you're going to get a little bit clumsier with where you place your feet. So a trail runner helps in that because it keeps your feet from getting as tired, it allows you to pick them up, and it forces you to sort of watch where you place them. Now, a lot of people will say like, well, but doesn't the stiffer midsole on the boot help me with rocks or with, if I'm traveling over scree or, on a stiff surface? And if you choose a good hiking shoe or trail runner, you can actually mitigate a lot of that. You might want to try something like the Topo Terra Venture, or if you want to get a little bit even more minimalist, the Zero Shoe Mesa Trail. Something like that will really help sort of prevent a lot of injuries in the long run too. So what about the noble hiking boot then, that has gotten us through decades, centuries of hiking in the mountains and in the woods and just all over this earth? Has it gone away? Has it just been improved and now everyone's moved on? No, of course not. When you think of a hiking trip, you probably think of a pair of boots. You probably think of going to an outfitter and trying them on and seeing what is correct and getting the right boot and the right fit. And that's still true, and there's a lot of reasons for that. And then the first one is durability. A hiking boot is going to last 2 times as long as the average trail runner. A good hiking boot that you can get resold and that you take very good care of, that can last your entire life. If you have, say, a good pair of Danners. I know people who have been hiking in the same pair of Danner boots for 20, 30 years. So the other thing that comes with added durability and not having to switch out your shoes so often is the sustainability. Trail runners are great, but the more shoes you create, the more shoes you go through, the harder it is for the environment. So having a pair of hiking boots that can last your entire lifetime, or even just twice as long, is super beneficial if you're going green. So we talked earlier about how much lighter trail runners are, and that's true, but with modern boots, manufacturers have gotten very good at shaving weight. They don't have sort of all this extra unnecessary padding and structure to them. So the weight penalty is actually a lot less than it was before. So it's not quite as big a factor. Do you ever go hiking in cold weather? Does this look insulated to you? Absolutely not. If you're going anywhere near freezing temperatures, but even if you're not, even if you're going in 40-degree weather, these can get really cold, and it can be really uncomfortable to hike in a trail runner when it's cold outside, especially if you're also dealing with water. If you're going to be going over water, through water, it can be very difficult and uncomfortable and even unsafe to hike in trail runners. One of the things you hear over and over in this debate is that ankle support is a myth, and that's not exactly true. I've talked to a lot of search and rescue people who say that upwards of 90% of the injuries they see are due to bad footwear that don't give you the support you need. So if you're gonna be on a well-groomed trail, a well-used trail, you don't really have to worry about this. But if you're going to be in any sort of a technical environment, climbing or going over scree or jumping over things, you might really want to consider the added support of a boot so that you don't roll an ankle or cause injury to yourself that could be prevented. So it's great, when we talk about a trail runner and like, well, you watch where your foot gets placed. That's awesome if you can watch where your foot gets placed. But if visibility is very low, if you have a hard time sort of feeling out, you're going to want that added support and safety of a boot perhaps. So would I ever go back to boots? Absolutely. If I were going on a trail that was not super well maintained, if I was going to be doing some bushwhacking, going off trail entirely, if I was going to be doing some scrambling, like a heavy amount of scrambling or traveling over a lot of rocky surfaces, I would strongly consider wearing my boots. There's a reason I haven't given them away or sold them or thrown them out, and that is they're still a good option. So which is better? It depends on what you're doing. It depends on you, and it depends on your objective, and it depends on your environment. So, at the end of the day, there are benefits and drawbacks to both. In the comments, let me know which you prefer. Are you a hiking boot advocate, or do you love trail runners? Or somewhere in between, maybe you're an approach shoe kind of a person. Let me know. And again, my name is Grimace. Thank you so much for watching, and hey, let's do this again sometime.